Dear Hasbro, it's me, Faith, aka your personal piggy bank, whenever you want to have some extra spending money to spend a few nights at Ram Ranch by claiming my videos. But today's video isn't about the proverbial assault on the dignity of oneself caused by the abuse of the YouTube's copyright system. No, today's video is all about the lovable horse show that we spent the better part of a decade watching. It's recently came to an end, but like they say, the ride never truly ends, and while it seems like a nice pristine little finale on the surface, the more and more it sat there, the more and more that all too familiar aroma of bullshit number 9 wafted over our noses. That is to say, Hasbro, your finale makes no fucking sense. But before I go into all the reasons why it's just utterly awful, we need to pay the bills here with an ad. After 4 years, Nancy Drew has come back in their new game, Nancy Drew Midnight in Salem. Nancy Drew is a point-and-click adventure detective game that lets the player solve all kinds of interesting mysteries with over 15 hours of gameplay. That is a lot of different puzzles for you to sink your teeth into. Nancy Drew has over 30 games. To put in perspective, Call of Duty has less than half of that. It's a title that stood the test of time, and one that many people have fell in love with and grew up with. Now it's back on an updated engine with updated graphics. Explore Salem, figure out all the mysteries, and solve incredible puzzles. Follow the links down in the description to get your copy today. Hark! Our heroes have returned from their adventures, and they are better than they ever have been. Twilight is an alicorn. Rarity has personally evolved into a multi-millionaire, probably from all her businesses. Applejack still maintains her monopoly on apples and farming and everything else in Ponyville. Fluttershy has her own nature reserve without having any semblance of actually having gone to school to learn anything about animals or anything relating to medicine, really. Rainbow Dash is a wonder boat, and Pinkie Pie is still Pinkie Pie. We've watched these characters grow, albeit inconsistently, and now it comes to its logical conclusion, a passing of the torch from old to new, from boomer to zoomer. Twilight is now the god emperor of all of Equestria, except doesn't make any fucking sense as to why this happened. Celestia is borderline immortal. At least we have to kind of assume that. Celestia hasn't aged or changed at all in well over 1,000 years, and that's also a thing. She's been ruling for well over 1,000 years. Celestia has shown again and again there's more to her than meets the eye. She's clearly not above manipulating others to get results that she wants. She's a politician. Whether you want to admit it or not, most politicians are experts at this. This is why they become successful politicians. And Celestia isn't going to be able to maintain control and power for over 1,000 years without learning this trade. Now, if I had to actually think about this, it only comes to one logical explanation. Everything that has happened up until this point, from the passing of the torch, to every enemy defeated, to every baddie who came back, was probably scripted by Celestia. I know that seems like a huge leap in logic, but hey, you're watching one of my videos, that's pretty much all they really are. But I come with the facts and logic to pwn the liberals and own the SJWs. Celestia's conquest begins way before Twilight even comes into the picture. In fact, it starts with Sunset Shimmer. It starts with breeding the next ruler, someone who can take the fall essentially. The best way to actually rule is not to be the number 1 guy, but be the number 2. The number 1 guy will always get the shit. The number 1 guy is the guy that you blame for all your problems. No one really talks about the vice president of the United States. They're always too busy complaining about the president, despite that all the things that they complain about the president, it's usually worse with the vice president, especially in this current election season. But Sunset was a little bit too based and red-pilled, so she had to get rid of her. You guys don't think it's odd at all that Celestia just happened to show her a magic mirror that showed her all her max potential? Something that we also never see this mirror do again, really? And it shows her as becoming an alicorn. Why would Celestia be upset about that? Why wouldn't Celestia explain what that means? There are so many questions that are just never answered, and don't really have a logical reasoning as to why they followed the events that they did. Why did Sunset Shimmer run away into the mirror and then never decide to come back? Not only that, we literally see Twilight in all the canon depictions of this scene as being about the same age as she is when she's actually accepted as Celestia's personal protege. Meaning that really, between the gap of Sunset disappearing and Twilight coming into the fold is probably minimum at best. And if you stop to think about it, it's not like Twilight was just some random filly that she picked up off the street. Not only was her parents pretty much nobles, all working in high-up jobs in Canterlot, her brother eventually became captain of the royal guard and the boyfriend of Princess Cadence, and later the king of the Crystal Empire. Twilight was never normal. You could even say that there was a heavy bias as to why she was selected. All kinds of selective breeding that, well, from what we can tell, Sunset never had. Not only that, by picking her up so young, she was able to mold her into being the perfect student, completely devout to Celestia, hanging on every word that she said, and going into near panic attacks at the mere thought of failing her, of disappointing her. It seems like Celestia has seen more of her mother as more of the mother figure than Twilight's actual mother. From that point, Twilight really became Celestia's greatest asset, using her to even defeat her sister. If Celestia just defeated her sister on her own, well, it may have still caused conflict. She may have even had to have gone back to the moon, which, by the way, brings up a huge point. Celestia allowed the image of her sister not only to be tarnished, but to be relegated to mere myth and legend. She allowed her sister to literally be erased from the history books, where the only mentions of her are saying that she is not even real. If that's not a power move, I don't know what is. All throughout the show, it seems like Celestia is just giving her different tasks that she knows that Twilight can do, but that she herself or even Luna could easily do herself. And probably quicker. Luna was already geared up to go ahead and take care of Sombra. She probably could have done it really easily. Instead, she denies Luna's request to go and gives it to Twilight, something that Luna is completely perturbed about, and quite visibly so. Not only that, when we do see Celestia fight, it seems as though she's actually feigning weakness a lot of the times. Look at the fight between her and Chrysalis. Even Chrysalis was surprised that she was able to overpower Celestia. And in the beginning, it looked like Celestia was easily outdoing Chrysalis, until just one moment she just gets a sudden burst of power and is able to topple her. Chrysalis's power comes from draining love from others. Who was exactly feeding her extra power in that room? I think Celestia is a lot more cold and calculating than people think. Look at all the villains that came back in just the span that Twilight was active. Look at how they all wanted revenge on Celestia, be it Discord, T-Rex, or anyone else. They all wanted her head. After 1,000 years, you're going to make some enemies. But if you want to rule, you want to do so safely, without the need to have to constantly flex your muscles, the only way you can really do so is to set up a puppet government. Take someone who's vastly inexperienced, who is completely loyal to you, and who completely depends on you for results. The time for MLP is jumbled and all over the place. But no matter what, Twilight can't be even in her 30s at this point. This is like giving the presidency to a grad student, someone who just does not have the world experience or even the knowledge of politics to lead, someone who is literally unfit to lead the government, and yet for some reason she's being handed the crown. This is someone who wrote a book on friendship and still routinely forgets the most basic of principles of friendship. Celestia isn't weak, but she's probably tired of having to deal with psychotic villains knocking on her door every other week. By retiring, she's allowed to rule from the sidelines, to rule from the shadows, to passively enact her will upon the people. And Twilight, well, Twilight has to deal with the brunt of all the problems. Celestia isn't actually relinquishing any power. She's still there. She's still immortal, and she's still a force to be reckoned with. Twilight all knows this. Twilight is also super. You could also say that Celestia was pretty much doing what people got mad at Discord for doing. She was setting up scenarios for Twilight to have to fight. She clearly knew her sister was coming back, and she didn't resist when her sister took her. She had to have known about T-Rex escape or Discord or all kinds of things. There are just too many weird things that happen back to back to back to be mere coincidence. You really telling me that all this time, no one's ever had a fight in front of Discord's statue and caused enough chaos to have him released? Really? The only way any of this all makes sense is if she knew of these events happening. A lot of these had timers built into them, and she simply allowed them to happen in a controlled manner so that Twilight wouldn't be overwhelmed, but she would be challenged, that she would be strengthened, that her and her friends could clearly overcome the obstacle and become stronger because of it. She leaves behind a ruler who can take care of her problems for her, while leaving her to do whatever she desires and still hold on to power. Because again, Twilight is simply devoted to Celestia through mind, body, and soul. And like we already said, if you really want to rule, and you want to rule for the longest amount of time possible, it's always best to be number 2. No one's gunning at number 2. They're too busy trying to take out number 1. And that is Celestia's endgame. Whew, it's been a while since we've done one of these. I don't know if I still have it in me to do them, but it was kind of fun to just go ahead and start recording one of these. Let me know what you guys think down below. We're living in 2020 and Celestia's living in 2085. Playing some true 3D chess. As always, I've been Faith and Moliminous. I thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.